When do you hope to transfer? I don't think I've said that out loud before. How do you handle unsolicited advice? Do you think IUI is a waste of time? Are you able to transfer 2 embryos at one time? I don't think I've been very transparent about this. And hello everybody, it is Dingle here and welcome back to my channel. I hope you all are doing super duper well, and welcome to part 2 of our IVF Q&A. If you're curious about what we answered in part 1, such as if we are genetically testing our embryos, or the meanest thing someone's ever said to me when sharing our infertility journey, I will leave part 1 linked down below. But hello, welcome if this is the first time you're stumbling across my channel. My name is Mac, my husband's name is Jack. Yes, Mac and Jack. We live in Portland, Maine, and we are going on 2.5 years of our infertility journey, trying to conceive, trying to grow our family. We have documented the entire process here on my YouTube channel, so if you are curious and you want to binge all of those videos, I will leave the full fertility playlist linked down below. Now that we are through our first ever IVF egg retrieval cycle, I asked you all on my Instagram if there's anything you would like to know about IVF from my perspective, and you all came through with the questions, hence why there is a part 2 today. If anything that I say or mention resonates with you, or if you just want to send good vibes for our journey to grow our family, make sure to hit the subscribe button because I upload videos like these on Wednesdays and Sundays. Without further ado, let's get into it. I'm starting stim/injections later this week. Any tips? First of all, congratulations for just making it to this step. This is very exciting. And if you're nervous, I just want to be the one to tell you, as you've probably seen in my videos, I was very nervous as well. I watched the instruction videos like 5 times before we went ahead and did our first couple nights of stims. But the one thing I will say is by the time you just do your first night, you already feel so much better about continuing doing it for the nights to come. It's always that first night that was the most nerve-wracking for us. The things that really helped me is that my husband did all of the injections, so if that is something that you feel that would support you, you can express that to your partner. And then also something that Jack did was set an alarm on his phone for when we should take stims, so it was kind of something that was out of my mind and just something that I had to show up for whenever Jack called me into the dining room. Other than that though, they were pretty okay physically. I've heard ice packs work. Make sure that you take them out 30 to 45 minutes before you do them so that the medicines get to room temperature if you're refrigerating them. And then the other thing that I did that I really think helped was inhaling and holding my breath through the injection and then just exhaling when the needle was coming out. It sounds silly, but it really did help me. When do you hope to transfer? So I don't think I've been very transparent about this, and it's not on purpose. It's just everything is so crazy. And we didn't know what would happen for our first retrieval. We only have that one embryo, hence why we're doing a second retrieval. So originally, when in our heads we were only going to have to go through one retrieval, we thought we would do the retrieval, then we would wait all of July and basically all of August as well, because we just had so much stuff going on. You know, my doctor likes to call it the IVF calendar versus the life calendar, and you as a couple have to kind of find that balance that you're comfortable with. Some women just want to get pregnant immediately, and I completely understand that, but what we have found is that balance is so important to us for our mental state throughout this whole thing, and we had a lot of really exciting things happening in July. And also I'm in a wedding for one of my best friends from high school in August, so having to do the injections and the drugs for a transfer and scheduling the transfer and all of that stuff, we just wanted it out of our heads for a couple months after getting off of the first retrieval and everything like that. So we originally were going to transfer in September. I don't think I've said that out loud before. And what's ironic is even with this second retrieval, the second retrieval ended up working in and around our life calendar so perfectly. It's weird how perfect it ended up working out. And so the retrieval will happen in August, and we're thinking that we might potentially be able to still do a transfer in September, if not October timeframe. So we'll keep you all updated. We'll keep you updated in the vlogs. This This question stumped Jack and I. This is one of the first questions we received, and I asked him and I was like, I really don't know how I would answer this, and he really doesn't either. But I thought I would share. It's a really good one. If there was a boy and a girl embryo and both were perfect, which would you transfer first? So you guys know that we didn't do genetic testing on our embryo, and you find out, actually, fun fact, if you're new to the whole IVF and infertility thing like I was before as well, when you do genetic testing, one of the things that they can test for, or they can see, is the sex of the embryo. So since we didn't do genetic testing, and this is another question I received, we do not know the sex of our embryo. But if there was a boy and a girl embryo and both were perfect, which one would you transfer first? I think, okay, this isn't on it. I literally, because I do not know. I literally do not know. I think after 2.5 years of this process, and also knowing that the transfer might not be successful, also it's not a 100% success rate. It's a much higher success rate though than IUI, so we're in a good place, but nothing's 100%. I would have the clinic decide, and I would prefer them not tell me which one they ended up transferring, if that's possible, because my brain goes to, if it didn't work out, I don't want to know the details or have visualized the life that we would have if it was a boy or if it was a girl, if it didn't end up working out. I guess I would just want to know that we transferred an embryo and it may not have worked out, versus knowing exactly what we lost, if that makes sense. That's probably a really morbid way of looking at it, but I just know my brain, and that's probably what I would do. How do you handle unsolicited advice from family, friends, and or strangers? Holy Hannah, I don't know, I'm still figuring it out. If you guys have a go-to answer of how you all handle stuff like that, please leave it in the comments below for me and other people who are also wondering the same thing. It's easy online because I either ignore it, or if it's pretty damaging, I will delete the comment. I have no shame in my game admitting that I delete comments like that, because at the end of the day, I don't want to see that, but also I want to make this place that we have created together a really safe and comforting place for everyone. And if anyone who is also struggling with the same things are reading stuff like that in my comments, I do not want to put that on anybody else at all. So yes, I do definitely online handle that by deleting those comments. I think what really helped though, especially for family, is I was very upfront that we are not looking for any advice when it comes to opening up about what we are going through. It's more so we would love to give updates as things arise. So I think that has been really helpful with just setting that boundary at the start, because then if somebody does proceed to give unsolicited advice, you can kind of point back to, you know, we're not necessarily looking for that, but thank you so much. I think setting it first really helps along the road. But what's weird is Jack has weirdly gotten unsolicited advice like through him to kind of pass on to me, which is actually really interesting. He's handled it really well. He basically says, you know, there's a lot going on. There are a lot of things that we are trying right now, but we can't try everything all at once. You know, we can't try naturally and we can't try Clomid at the same time. We can't try acupuncture and supplements at the same time and treatments and everything. So when he has gotten those either comments or have you tried X or my friend tried this and she got pregnant type of comments, he's really good at saying, you know, no, we're all set for now. We're trying what we're trying, and then we'll probably move on to other things along the road. But right now we are all consolidated and overwhelmed with what we are trying currently. I think that's a good answer. Let's take Jack's lead on that. That's really good. Are you able to transfer 2 embryos at one time? The short answer is yes, we are able to, but the Association of blah 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 in fertility and endocrinology actually goes by a guideline based on age, diagnosis, egg count, you know, everything in between, how many embryos to transfer based on those factors. And we fall in just being advised to transfer 1 embryo, and we are totally fine with that. So we will be doing 1 embryo at a time based on the doctor's recommendations. And also going into this, I think I never desired to transfer 2 at a time. So I'm pretty happy with that, but they could split into twins. They could indeed split into twins. How did you surprise yourself in this process? Oh my gosh, in what ways are you proud of yourself? I find that I do not give myself enough time to be proud of myself. So this is a very appreciated question. I think just looking back and editing all of the infertility vlogs that we have, it's crazy to look back on those. First of all, it's so crazy. But I think having all of that documented and knowing how far we've come, even though we're not pregnant yet, I still feel like there's so much we learned along the way and so much we grew with along the way, if that makes sense. Together and separate, I think I am just the most proud of myself for getting through and handling it like we have. By now you guys know that my anxiety can get pretty out of control. I'm really proud of myself for how I handled my anxiety through this incredibly unnerving process. We had a few weak moments, but I also made sure to not feel guilty about those weak moments, because anxiety or not, this is really difficult, and the last thing we need to do is be judging ourselves for feeling the things that we feel, because not everyone has to go through this, and we are really strong for doing so. So I think handling it with our sense of humor and celebrating the things that we can celebrate along the way and holding on to those really happy moments, and also letting ourselves be sad during the sad moments. I think I'm just really proud of both Jack and I for how we've done this, how we've handled ourselves, for still being here today, for still existing is honestly the most proud of thing I can ever imagine. Do you have baby names picked out? Okay, I tried to go back and see when I created this list. Jack and I have had baby names going before we officially started trying to grow our family, and it's long. It's a long list. I don't know if you guys can see like back there like the list or anything, but as time goes on the list keeps growing, and we don't have any very concrete front runners. Like, we do not have, even after 2.5 years of infertility, and also time before then, thinking about this list as well, or just thinking about just names that we like as well. It's shocking to me that I do not have a girl name and a boy name after all this time. You know, it's kind of crazy. At this point I actually should know exactly what my nursery should look like. I feel like I should know exactly the baby products I'll be putting on the registry. I know nothing. I am such a one step at a time person when it comes to that stuff. But I think the thing I'm most nervous about when it comes to baby names is the fact that every time we look at this list, some of the names that we thought we loved before, we don't love anymore. So what if we ended up naming our kid that, and then along the line, like, realize that we don't like that name anymore because our thoughts changed now? What makes us think that they won't change? You know, if you've run into that dilemma, or you thought the same thing but then you had kids and that's just not the case, let me know. If you lived in a perfect world, when would you choose your baby's birthday to be? I have never thought about that. My first instinct is summer babies because I freaking love the summer. Jack and my birthday is in the summer. He's like late June and I'm in July. So we love a good summer birthday around here. But then now, because there's so much excitement in the summer, I wonder if it would be nice to kind of spread out the festivities a little bit so that we just have some fun stuff to celebrate along the year. Honestly, you guys know at this point I would take anything, but it might be fun to kind of spread it out throughout the year. What can others do to help you feel supported through this process? That is such a sweet question, first of all. The fact that you're even asking that question means your head is already in the right place. I think the most unhelpful thing people can do is, like we were saying before, give unsolicited advice just because your second cousin twice removed did this thing and then got pregnant, you know? But I think number one, it's asking your friend or family member how they can best feel supported by you in this process, because everybody is different. For me, I do not necessarily need to be smothered with love and people checking in on me all the time, but some people might really love that, and that might be their love language, is people just checking in with them all the time, you know? So I think asking that question, one, will give you the answer that you need for that particular person. For me personally, the most helpful things that I've received from my friends and family is just just a quick note saying, I'm thinking of you, I'm here if you need a phone call, anything I can do. It's not offering up any specific advice, it's just the fact that I know they are there. Because then it also allows me the space to not feel any pressure to reach out to specific people if I have an update or just keep everybody informed. Like that would be very stressful, I think. So it takes the pressure off in that way while also offering a comforting note, if that makes sense. Are there alternatives to Clomid if you have a bad reaction to it? So I'm not a doctor. I should have said that at the beginning. I always forget the disclaimers, you guys, but you guys know me by now. The two typical medications that doctors will put you on for either IUIs or medicated cycles are either Clomid or letrozole. So if you're not having a super great reaction to Clomid, I would ask about letrozole. I know that a lot of women take that one as well. I personally took Clomid throughout all of our medicated IUI cycles, but if any of you guys out there have been on both Clomid or letrozole, or even just letrozole and have a personal experience you want to share, feel free to leave those in the comments below in case that is helpful for other people wondering the same thing. Are you taking a cycle off in between egg collections? And so at first I thought we technically did take a cycle off, but then when I was thinking about it, I don't think we did. So we had my egg retrieval, and then the first period I got after that, the first cycle start date after that, kicked off our next retrieval cycle. So I technically don't think that we've had a break in between, but like I was saying about the whole IVF schedule in the first part of the Q&A, the first step is being on birth control, and I'm on birth control for about 4 to 5 weeks or so, depending on how the schedule worked out. The birth control that I personally really like to take is anything low, whether it's like Trinessa low or Sprintec low or something like that. I had a really positive experience with that type of birth control when I was on birth control before trying to get pregnant. So whenever I go on birth control for an IVF cycle, I request that type of birth control and I feel great. So honestly, even though we started this retrieval cycle, because the first step is that birth control, I feel like I'm taking a break. I feel like I'm mentally prepared. I feel like I'm physically prepared. And that's how you want to feel going into an IVF cycle. Tips for egg retrieval. I have mine end of August. Oh my gosh, I'm so excited for you. If you haven't watched my egg retrieval vlog, it is in the fertility playlist that I'll link down below. But just know that oh, you guys, I was so scared. I was in the parking lot of our clinic thinking of all of the ways that I could potentially avoid walking into that clinic the morning of my egg retrieval. I was in flight mode. But as somebody who was absolutely terrified, and also somebody who is allergic to ibuprofen and couldn't have that in my IV, my retrieval went so smoothly. And it was actually kind of the best part of this process because it's what you've been doing everything for. You know, when you're in a retrieval cycle, it's all leading up to that date. And now that I know that it is not bad at all from my personal experience and nothing like I had in my head whatsoever, I'm really excited to get to my retrieval date. I'll definitely be a little nervous for sure, just a little pitter-pattery, but I will not be dreading that date at all. And so I hope that calms your nerves if you are nervous. But solid tips. So I went into my egg retrieval with my own snacks to have after. That is something I will definitely do the second time around, because the snacks they have are not necessarily that great, or you can't really like guarantee they're that great. So having your own snacks, I had those little like blueberry little bites, like muffin type of things. They were so bomb. I had like 2 right after the procedure. I brought my own socks, just really comfy socks, and just having something of mine on my body was weirdly comforting. So definitely remember to bring your own socks. I made sure that I had Tylenol on deck. They are stocked full in that pre-op post-op room of everything you're going to need. But knowing that I had the Tylenol with me was also a comforting thing too. And there's one other tip that I actually got the day before the retrieval was to pick up stool softener. As weird as that sounds, I did not know that a common side effect of anesthesia is constipation. And honestly, at a time where you're just kind of feeling full in there, you know, people were poking and prodding around, the last thing you want is also feeling that level of full as well. Do you have a gut feeling if embryo is a boy or a girl? Holy Hannah, I don't think I do. I think at this point, I've just not thought about sex or timing of their birthday or anything like these. Like, these are really fun things to think about, but I think I'm just so incredibly grateful that I have one. As cliche as that answer is, genuinely, I just haven't thought about a boy or a girl. I'll have to ask Jack. I'll have to ask Jack if he has any sort of inkling, and I'll leave it on the screen. And if you guys have any sort of inkling, I would also love to know too. Leave that below. I'd be so curious. Do you think IUI is a waste of time, and is it better to move to IVF if it is more convenient? That's a very good question. I think it's really easy for me to sit here where I am in my journey and say that IUIs are a waste of time just because they didn't work for me. But the thing is, I've seen them work for other people. I've seen them work for people I've watched on YouTube. I've seen them work for people in my life. I've seen them work for people I watch on TikTok. I've seen them work. And so if you were to ask them, they would say, no, you should definitely go ahead and try those before moving on to IVF. But if you would ask someone that tried 3 and none of them worked and now we're here at IVF, I wish I didn't try those, but hindsight is 2020. And the thing is, even if you're someone who is thinking more practically about it, like the success rates for IUI versus IVF and the cost and wasting money on IUI, that's also really tough to go in it at that angle too, because if IUI were to work for you, you definitely have saved tens of thousands of dollars when it comes to IVF. But if they didn't work for you, then you just wasted thousands of dollars on a few rounds of IUI before moving on to the tens of thousands of dollars of IVF. So I don't mean to spike anyone's anxiety with that question. Just know there's no right answer, I guess. Just know that if you're in the position of choosing IUI versus IVF, there's truly not a right answer, which you might find comforting. No matter what you choose, it could be the right answer. But with that, my friends, that is going to be it for this Q&A. Thank you so much for everyone who submitted questions. It warms my heart when people are curious about these things, because I could talk about it all day long, but I think the more we talk about it, the less scary and daunting and secretive this whole process is. If you want to participate in future Q&As, go ahead and follow me on Instagram. And again, if anything resonated with you in this video, or you just want to send good vibes for myself and Jack on our way to baby, make sure to hit the subscribe button down below, because we upload videos here on Wednesdays and Sundays. Everybody, do not forget to give this video a big old thumbs up, and we'll catch you in the next one, my friends. We'll see you later. Bye!